Jake Morrison stood in front of the mirror in his quarters, adjusting his formal uniform one last time. The dark blue fabric felt stiff and uncomfortable, but today was important. Today, Earth was making its first official visit to the Valtorian homeworld. After 6 years of working on diplomatic missions across the galaxy, Jake had learned that first impressions mattered. He picked up the small device from his desk. It was a holographic projector no bigger than his hand. Inside it held something special, a collection of images and videos showing Earth's history, culture, and achievements. Jake had spent 3 weeks preparing it as a gift for the Valtorian royal family. He wanted them to understand humanity, to see what humans had accomplished. You ready? Ben Carter appeared at the doorway. Ben was Jake's closest friend on the ship, a pilot with an easy smile and a talent for making people laugh. As ready as I'll ever be, Jake said, slipping the projector into his pocket. Don't worry so much. You're good at this stuff. Just be yourself. Jake nodded, but his stomach felt tight. The Valtorians were one of the oldest and most advanced species in the Galactic Coalition. Their technology was centuries ahead of Earth's. Their ships could cross distances in days that took human vessels weeks. If this meeting went well, Earth could gain access to trade routes and knowledge that would change everything. The shuttle ride down to the planet's surface was smooth. Jake sat beside Captain Linda Hayes, a sharp woman in her 50s, who commanded the Horizon Dawn with quiet confidence. She had been reviewing her notes the entire trip. Remember, she said without looking up, the Valtorians value ceremony and respect. Let them speak first. Follow their lead. And whatever happens, stay calm. I understand, Captain. The planet below was beautiful. Floating cities drifted among the clouds, connected by bridges of light. Towers reached toward the sky like crystal fingers. Everything gleamed with a silver-blue radiance. Jake had visited many alien worlds, but none quite like this. They landed on a platform near the largest palace. The doors opened, and Jake stepped out into warm, perfumed air. Hundreds of Valtorians stood in neat rows on either side of a long purple carpet. They were tall and elegant, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. They wore flowing robes that seemed to shift colors in the light. At the end of the carpet stood a young woman. She wore a crown of silver that floated just above her head, held in place by some technology Jake didn't understand. Her robes were white and gold, and she carried herself with absolute confidence. This was Princess Lysa Valtorin, heir to the throne. Captain Hayes walked forward first, and Jake followed 2 steps behind. The princess watched them approach with an expression that Jake couldn't quite read. Was it curiosity? Boredom? Something else? Welcome to Valtoria, the princess said. Her voice was clear and strong. We receive you as friends and potential allies of the Coalition. Captain Hayes bowed her head. Thank you, Your Highness. Earth is honored to be here. We hope this visit will mark the beginning of a long and prosperous friendship between our peoples. The princess nodded slightly. Then her eyes moved to Jake. And who is this? This is Jake Morrison, Your Highness. He serves as our cultural liaison and engineer. He has prepared a gift for your family. Jake stepped forward and pulled out the holographic projector. He set it on a small stand that one of the Valtorian attendants provided. With a touch, the device activated. Images appeared in the air. Ancient humans discovering fire, building pyramids, painting on cave walls. Then the images shifted to show the Renaissance, the Industrial Revolution, the first planes, the first computers. Finally, it showed humans reaching for the stars, building ships, making first contact with alien life. This is humanity's story, Jake said. We wanted to share it with you. We've come a long way in a short time. We still have much to learn, but we're eager to grow and contribute to the Coalition. He looked at the princess, hoping to see interest or appreciation. Instead, she laughed. It wasn't a polite laugh or a gentle one. It was sharp and mocking. How charming, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The humans are proud of discovering fire and building rockets. How primitive. The Valtorian court behind her laughed too. The sound echoed across the platform. Jake felt his face grow warm, but he kept his expression neutral. Princess Lysa walked closer to the hologram, studying it with an amused smile. You must understand, this is all very basic to us. We were exploring the stars when your species was still living in caves. Your emotions, your struggles, your little achievements, they're quite adorable, really. She turned to face Jake directly. The truth is, humanity stumbled into space through dumb luck and alien charity. You're primitive mimics playing dress-up in a galaxy far beyond your understanding. Without species like mine guiding you, teaching you, you'd still be throwing rocks at each other. The court laughed again, harder this time. Some of the Valtorians whispered to each other, clearly entertained. Captain Hayes's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. The diplomatic protocol was clear. Endure insults with grace, maintain composure, preserve the relationship. Jake looked at the princess. He looked at the laughing court. He looked at his hologram, still playing images of human achievement and struggle and hope. Something settled in his chest, solid and certain. He reached out and touched the projector. The images disappeared. The laughter faded, replaced by confused silence. Jake picked up the device and returned it to his pocket. "Thank you for your time, Your Highness," he said. His voice was calm and polite. "I apologize for wasting it with our primitive offerings." He turned to Captain Hayes. "Captain, with your permission, I'd like to return to the ship." Hayes stared at him. "Jake, we haven't finished the—" "I have finished, Captain." Respectfully, I declined to continue this negotiation. The platform went completely silent. Every Valtorian stood frozen, staring at Jake with wide eyes. Princess Lissa's mouth opened slightly as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. You're walking away?" she said. "From me?" "Yes, Your Highness. You've made it clear that you believe humans have nothing of value to offer. If that's true, then we have nothing to negotiate. Respect is earned through mutual recognition, not demanded through ceremony. I wish you and your people well." Jake bowed his head once, a simple gesture of courtesy, then turned and walked back toward the shuttle. His heart pounded in his chest. His hands wanted to shake, but he kept them steady at his sides. Behind him, he heard shocked whispers rippling through the crowd. "Morrison," Captain Hayes called.
"Jake, wait!"
He paused at the shuttle door and turned back. "Captain, I apologize for any difficulty this causes you, but I won't apologize for having self-respect. I won't teach them that humans can be disrespected without consequence." He entered the shuttle and sat down. Through the window, he could see the chaos on the platform. Valtorians rushed around in confusion. Princess Lisa stood in the same spot, staring at the shuttle with an expression of absolute shock. Captain Hayes was speaking urgently with Valtorian officials, trying to salvage something from the disaster. The shuttle pilot, a young woman named Kelly, looked at Jake with wide eyes. "Sir, are you sure about this?" "No," Jake said honestly, "but I couldn't stay." As the shuttle lifted off and the palace grew smaller below them, Jake wondered what he had just done. He had probably destroyed a billion-dollar trade deal. He might have ended his career. Earth's leaders would be furious. The coalition might see this as an insult, but when he closed his eyes, he saw that mocking smile. He heard that sharp laughter, and he knew deep in his bones that he had made the right choice. Some prices were too high to pay. Some bridges weren't worth crossing if you had to crawl to reach the other side. Jake Morrison had walked away, and he would deal with whatever came next. The message from Earth arrived 6 hours after Jake returned to the Horizon Dawn. He sat in his quarters staring at the blinking notification on his screen. He already knew what it would say. Captain Hayes had called him to her office immediately after they left the planet. She hadn't yelled. That was somehow worse. She had simply looked at him with tired eyes and asked him why. Jake had explained his reasoning, and she had listened without interrupting. When he finished, she had nodded slowly. "I understand your feelings, Jake, I really do, but you just cost Earth a major opportunity. They're going to want answers." Now those answers were being demanded. Jake opened the message. It was from Admiral Grant, head of Earth's diplomatic operations. The text was brief and cold. "Report to communications room immediately for conference call." Ben found Jake in the hallway on the way to the meeting. "Hey, I heard what happened down there. Everyone's talking about it. I bet they are. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Someone needed to tell that princess she can't treat people like garbage." "Thanks, Ben. That might not mean much when I'm looking for a new job." The communications room was small and dark except for the large screen on the wall. Captain Hayes was already there, standing with her arms crossed. The screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Grant's stern face. Behind him sat 3 other officials, all looking equally unhappy. "Morrison," the Admiral said without greeting, "explain yourself." Jake stood straight and kept his voice level. "Admiral, I was insulted in front of the entire Valtorian court. The princess called humanity primitive, mocked our achievements, and stated that we only survived through luck and alien charity. I determined that continuing negotiations under those conditions would show weakness. Your job is diplomacy, Morrison. Diplomacy sometimes means enduring uncomfortable situations for the greater good. With respect, Admiral, there's a difference between uncomfortable and humiliating. If we teach other species that humans accept disrespect, we'll never be treated as equals. We'll always be the junior partners, the ones who should be grateful for whatever scraps we're given. One of the other officials leaned forward. Do you have any idea what you've cost us? The Valtorians are threatening to blacklist Earth from 3 major trade councils. They're calling your actions an insult to their crown. I understand the economic implications, but I believe the long-term cost of accepting disrespect would be higher. Admiral Grant rubbed his temples. Captain Hayes, what's your assessment? Hayes glanced at Jake before answering. Morrison acted outside protocol, but I understand his reasoning. The princess was deliberately offensive. However, the political fallout is significant. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he sighed. Morrison, you're being reassigned. The Valtorians have demanded you be removed from any future negotiations with them. Earth's government is considering whether to issue a formal apology. I won't apologize for having self-respect, Admiral. I'm not asking you to, but you need to understand that actions have consequences. You're a good officer, Morrison, but you need to think about more than just your pride. After the call ended, Jake returned to his quarters. He sat on his bed and wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. Maybe the Admiral was right. Maybe he should have swallowed his pride and continued smiling through the insults. Maybe personal dignity wasn't worth $1 billion trade deal. His door chimed. Ben entered carrying 2 cups of coffee. Thought you might need this. Thanks. They sat in silence for a while, drinking the coffee. Finally, Ben spoke. You know what's weird? I've been checking the Coalition news feeds. Your little walkout is everywhere. It's the biggest story in 3 sectors. Great, I'm famous for being reckless. Actually, it's more complicated than that. Some species are calling you a hero. Others think you're an idiot. But everyone's talking about it. Look at this. Ben pulled up his tablet and showed Jake a discussion forum used by various alien species. The thread about the incident had thousands of comments. Jake scrolled through them. A Krell merchant had written, "Finally, a human with backbone. The Valtorians have been arrogant for too long. Someone needed to stand up to them." A Thalon diplomat countered, "This was foolish. Emotions have no place in diplomacy." The human damaged his species' reputation. A Dendari scientist added, "I find the human's actions admirable. Respect must be mutual. Why should humans accept insults to gain favor?" Ben pointed at another post. "This one's interesting. It's from a Kryn commander," Jake read it. Commander Vex of the Kryn Alliance had written, "The human Morrison showed more courage in that one moment than most species show in a lifetime. The Kryn respect strength. We respect those who stand firm. Perhaps humanity is more interesting than we thought. The Kryn are interested in me. That's not necessarily good news." The Kryn Alliance was a rival faction to the Coalition, known for their military strength and aggressive expansion. Maybe not, but it proves something. You didn't just walk away from one princess. You sent a message to the entire galaxy. Over the next few days, strange things began happening. Captain Hayes received a message from the Dendari colony, requesting human assistance with an agricultural crisis. They specifically asked if Jake Morrison could be part of the team. The Thalon Medical Council invited Jake to speak at a conference about cross-cultural understanding. A Krell trading fleet offered to open direct negotiations with Earth, citing respect for human independence as their reason. But the strangest message came from Valtoria itself. It wasn't from the government or the royal family. It was from a minor official named Elder Torin, one of Princess Lissa's advisors. "Mr. Morrison," the message read, "I write to you personally, not in any official capacity. The incident at the palace has caused quite a stir here. Princess Lysa has been unusually quiet since you left. She has spent the past 3 days reviewing human history files. I do not know what she is thinking, but I suspect your actions affected her more than she would admit. I wanted you to know this. Perhaps some good may yet come from what appeared to be a disaster." Jake read the message 3 times. The princess was studying human history? Why? Was she looking for more ways to mock humanity, or was something else happening? Captain Hayes reassigned Jake to the Dendari mission. "You wanted to make a statement about human dignity," she said. "Now let's show the galaxy what humans can actually do." The Dendari were a small species, barely 50 years into space travel. Their colony world was struggling. Crops were failing due to soil problems, and they didn't have the technology to fix it. The coalition had offered help, but it came with strings attached: debt, trade agreements that heavily favored the larger species, political compromises. When Jake arrived on the Dendari world, he didn't arrive as a superior bringing gifts to inferiors. He arrived as a partner. He met with the farmers directly, walked through their fields, got dirt under his fingernails. He listened to their concerns and studied their growing methods. The Dendari were surprised. They were used to advanced species showing up with pre-made solutions, handing over technology and leaving. Jake was different. He sat with them, ate their food, learned their language. He didn't just give them Earth's agricultural technology. He worked with them to adapt it to their specific soil and climate. A young Dendari named Kessa became Jake's main contact. She was curious and asked many questions. One evening, after a long day in the field, she asked Jake something unexpected. Why do humans help us like this? The Valtorians give us technology, but they make us feel small. They remind us how much we owe them. You don't do that, why? Jake thought about his answer carefully. Because we remember what it's like to struggle. Humans faced extinction more than once. We fought wars, suffered plagues, nearly destroyed our own planet. Other species helped us when we joined the coalition. Some of them made us feel grateful and inferior. Others treated us like partners. We remember which approach felt better. We remember which approach actually helped us grow. The Valtorians say emotions make species weak. They say it's better to be logical and superior. Emotions don't make us weak, Kessa, they make us human. Well, they make us who we are, whether human or Dendari or any other species. Empathy, compassion, pride, hope, these things drive us to be better, to help each other, to never give up. Kessa was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. I like humans. You understand something the older species forgot. What's that? That we're all just trying to survive and be happy. That we're stronger together than alone. News of Jake's work on the Dendari world spread through coalition channels. Other species began requesting human assistance, not because human technology was the most advanced, but because humans knew how to work with others. They knew how to teach without condescending. They knew how to build real partnerships. And somewhere on Valtoria, Princess Lissa sat in her private chambers, surrounded by holographic displays showing human history. She watched videos of human wars, saw the destruction and death. Then she watched humans rebuild, reach for the stars, help others. She watched Jake Morrison's presentation that she had mocked. Really watched it this time. For the first time in her life, Princess Lissa Valtorin wondered if she had been wrong about something important. 3 weeks after leaving Valtoria, Jake found himself standing knee-deep in purple mud on a Dendari farm, laughing with a group of farmers. The irrigation system they had installed was working perfectly, and water flowed through the channels in exactly the right pattern. The Dendari were celebrating, dancing in circles and singing in their chirping language. Kessa ran up to Jake, her large eyes bright with joy. It works. Jake, it really works. Our crops will grow now. Of course it works. You designed most of this yourself, Kessa. I just showed you the basic principles. But you believed we could do it. The Valtorians would have just installed everything and told us to be grateful. You taught us so we can teach others. Ben approached from the landing pad, carefully stepping around the mud. Hey Jake, we've got incoming transmission. It's marked priority. Jake excused himself and followed Ben back to the shuttle. Inside, the communication screen showed Captain Hayes' face. She looked troubled. Jake, we have a situation. The Kryn Alliance has started attacking coalition supply lines. Several species are facing shortages. Earth's fleet has been ordered to assist in defense operations. We need you back on the Horizon Dawn immediately. Understood, Captain. I'm on my way. The celebration on the farm suddenly felt distant. The Kryn Alliance had always been aggressive, but open attacks on the coalition were rare. This was serious. On the flight back to the Horizon Dawn, Ben filled Jake in on the details. The Kryn hit 3 supply convoys in 2 days. They're using new tactics, hitting fast and disappearing before coalition forces can respond. They're not trying to hold territory. They're just disrupting everything. That's smart. Cause chaos, make the coalition look weak, maybe recruit some unhappy species to their side. Exactly. And here's the thing. The big, powerful species like the Valtorians are struggling to deal with it. Their ships are incredibly strong, but there aren't many of them. They're used to overwhelming enemies with superior technology, not adapting to guerrilla tactics. Jake thought about that. Humans understood guerrilla warfare. Earth's history was full of smaller forces defeating larger ones through cleverness and adaptation. Maybe that's what the Coalition needed now. When Jake returned to the Horizon Dawn, he found the ship preparing for combat operations. Crew members rushed through corridors running system checks and loading supplies. Captain Hayes called a meeting of all senior staff. "Listen up," she said. "Earth Command wants us to join the Coalition Defense Fleet. Our job is to protect supply convoys and respond to Kryn attacks. We'll be working alongside ships from a dozen different species. This won't be easy." She looked at Jake. "Morrison, I want you working with our tactical team. Your experience with different cultures might help us coordinate with the other species." Over the next few days, Jake worked with the Coalition fleet. It was frustrating. Each species had their own military doctrine, their own way of doing things. The Valtorians wanted to meet the Kryn in direct combat, ship against ship. The Thalons preferred defensive formations. The Krell wanted to charge straight at the enemy. Nobody was listening to each other. Nobody was adapting. During one particularly tense strategy meeting conducted over multi-ship communication, Jake finally spoke up. "Excuse me, but this isn't working." A Valtorian commander's face filled one screen. "And what would a human know about military strategy? Your species has barely been in space for 50 years. Jake bit back his first response and tried again. "That's exactly my point, Commander. Humans are new to space combat, but we're not new to warfare. Earth's history is full of wars, and we learned something important. The side that adapts wins. The Kryn are using hit-and-run tactics. We can't beat them by doing what they expect. So what do you suggest?" The commander's tone was skeptical, but not completely dismissive. "We need to think like they do. Small, fast responses. Use our numbers as an advantage. The Kryn hit a convoy and run. We have ships waiting along their escape routes. They attack from unexpected angles. We spread out our forces and communicate constantly. We become unpredictable," a Krell captain grunted. "This is human tactical thinking? It's practical thinking. It's how smaller forces survive against bigger ones. And right now, we need to survive until we figure out what the Kryn really want." The Valtorian commander was quiet for a moment. Then surprisingly, he nodded. "Very well. We will try this approach, but if it fails, we return to standard doctrine. It didn't fail. When the Kryn hit the next convoy, the Coalition was ready. Human ships, smaller and more maneuverable than the Valtorian cruisers, harassed the Kryn attackers while the larger ships protected the supply vessels. When the Kryn tried to retreat, they found more Coalition ships waiting. It wasn't a complete victory, but the Kryn withdrew with damage and without destroying the convoy. Word spread quickly through the Coalition fleet. The human tactics worked. Species that had dismissed humanity began requesting human advisors for their ships. Jake found himself teaching alien commanders about asymmetric warfare, rapid adaptation, and coordinated flexibility. One evening, Jake was reviewing tactical data in his quarters when his screen lit up with an incoming message. The sender identification made him pause. It was from Valtoria, but not from any official channel. The message was marked private and personal. He opened it. Princess Lissa's face appeared on the screen. She looked different than she had at their first meeting. Her expression was serious, almost humble. "Mr. Morrison," she began, then stopped. She seemed to be struggling with what to say. "I don't know if you'll even watch this message. I wouldn't blame you if you deleted it immediately, but I wanted you to know something." She looked down, then back at the camera. "I've been watching you. Not in a strange way, I mean through Coalition public channels. I've seen your work with the Denduri. I've seen how other species respond to you. I've been studying human history, really studying it this time, not just dismissing it." Lisa took a breath. "You were right to walk away from me. I was arrogant and cruel. I said terrible things about your species, and I believed them. I was raised to think Valtorians were superior to everyone else, and I never questioned it. But watching you work, seeing how you treat others, learning about what humans have overcome, I realize I was wrong." She leaned closer to the camera. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that your actions changed something. They changed me. You showed me that real strength isn't about technology or power. It's about character, respect, and treating others with dignity. Things I claimed to value but never practiced." The message ended. Jake stared at the blank screen for a long time. An apology from a princess, from the same person who had mocked him in front of hundreds. He didn't know what to think. Ben knocked and entered. "You okay? You look confused." "The princess just apologized to me." "What? The Valtorian princess? The one who called humans primitive?" "Yeah, she sent a private message. Said she's been studying human history and realized she was wrong." Ben sat down. "Huh, think it's genuine?" "I don't know, maybe. People can change, right?" "We've seen it before." "True, so what are you going to do?" Jake thought about it. He could ignore the message. He could respond with anger, throw her words back at her. Or he could do what he believed was right. "I'm going to give her a chance," he finally said. "Not for her sake, for mine. Because holding on to anger makes us bitter, and I don't want to be that person." He composed a brief reply. "Princess Lissa, I appreciate your message. Change is hard, especially when it means admitting we were wrong. If you're serious about learning, I'm willing to help. Humans believe in second chances. We believe people can grow. Good luck with your studies." He sent the message and leaned back in his chair. Outside his window, stars stretched into infinity. Somewhere out there, the Kryn were planning their next move. The coalition was preparing defenses, and a young princess was questioning everything she'd been taught. The galaxy was changing. Maybe Jake's walk away from that palace platform had started something bigger than he realized. Maybe standing up for dignity, for self-respect, had sent ripples across the stars that were still spreading. Kessa had been right. Humans understood something important, that everyone deserves respect, that strength comes from helping others, and that the best partnerships are built on mutual dignity. Jake smiled slightly. His career hadn't ended. It had just taken an unexpected turn. And maybe, just maybe, he was helping build something better than a simple trade deal. He was helping build understanding. The emergency alert woke Jake from a restless sleep. Red lights flashed in his quarters as the ship's alarm blared. He grabbed his uniform and was dressed in 30 seconds, running toward the bridge. Captain Hayes was already there, staring at a tactical display. "Situation report," she barked. The communications officer responded quickly. Kryn battle fleet attacked the Valtorian outer colonies. 3 worlds, simultaneous strikes. Valtorian defense forces are engaged but overwhelmed. Jake felt his stomach tighten. Casualties? Unknown. But one of the colonies was hosting a cultural festival. Thousands of civilians present, including members of the royal family. Ben appeared beside Jake. Princess Lissa was scheduled to attend that festival. I saw it on the diplomatic schedule last week. Captain Hayes turned to her crew. "How far are we from the nearest colony under attack?" 40 minutes at maximum speed. "Then that's where we're going. Battle stations, everyone. Morrison, I need you in tactical." As the Horizon Dawn raced toward the Valtorian colony, Jake pulled up all available information. The Kryn had hit hard and fast with overwhelming force. They weren't trying to occupy the colonies. They were sending a message. The mighty Valtorians could be hurt. The tactical officer, a man named Greg, looked at Jake. "The Valtorian fleet is powerful, but they're spread thin. They designed their military for quality over quantity. Now they're paying the price. How many coalition ships are responding? Just us so far. We're the closest. Others are hours away." Jake's hands moved across the console, analyzing the situation. The Kryn had 3 heavy cruisers and a dozen smaller attack ships. The Valtorian defenders had been caught off guard and were falling back. On the colony's surface, buildings were on fire. Evacuation was underway, but chaotic. Captain Hayes appeared beside him. "What are you thinking, Morrison?" "I'm thinking we can't win a direct fight. Those Kryn cruisers would tear us apart. But we don't need to win. We need to buy time for the colonists to evacuate and for reinforcements to arrive." "How?" Jake pointed at the display. "Hit and run. Harass them. Make them focus on us instead of the colony. We're faster than their cruisers." "We use that," Hayes nodded. "Do it." The Horizon Dawn screamed into the system with weapons hot. Jake coordinated with Greg, targeting the Kryn ship's sensor arrays and communication systems. Not trying to destroy them, just blind and confuse them. The first attack run was successful. The Horizon Dawn swept past a Kryn cruiser, fired a spread of missiles at its communication towers, and was gone before the cruiser could properly respond. The Kryn ships turned away from the colony, searching for this new threat. "Again," Jake said. "Keep them looking at us." They made 3 more runs, each time striking a different target. never staying in one place long enough for the Kryn to coordinate a response. It was working. The Valtorian defenders were regrouping. Evacuation ships were lifting off from the colony. Then everything went wrong. A Kryn fighter squadron appeared from behind one of the colony's moons. They had been waiting. The Horizon Dawn flew straight into an ambush. Weapons fire tore through the ship's shields. Alarm screamed. The ship shuddered as hull plating buckled. "Shields at 20%, Greg shouted. "We've got hull breaches on decks 3 and 4. Captain Hayes gripped her chair. "Get us out of here." But the Kryn fighters surrounded them, firing from all sides. The Horizon Dawn was tough, but she wasn't built for this kind of punishment. Another hit, and the ship's main engine started failing. Engine power dropping. "We're losing speed." Jake watched the tactical display. They were trapped. The Kryn cruisers were moving in for the kill. In a few minutes, the Horizon Dawn would be destroyed. Then a new ship appeared on the sensors. A Valtorian vessel, smaller than the usual cruisers but moving incredibly fast. It dove into the Kryn formation, weapons blazing. Its shields were advanced enough to shrug off hits that would cripple other ships. "Who is that?" Hayes demanded. The communications officer looked shocked. "It's a royal escort ship." "And the pilot is—" "Captain, it's Princess Lissa Valtorin." The princess's voice came over the communication channel. "Horizon Dawn, this is Valtorian escort ship Crystal Wing. Hold your position. I'm getting you out of there." The Crystal Wing moved like nothing Jake had ever seen. It was piloted with absolute precision, weaving between Kryn fighters and destroying them with targeted shots. Within 2 minutes, the ambush was broken. The surviving Kryn fighters retreated. "Horizon Dawn, follow me," Lissa commanded. "My ship's shields can protect you until you're clear of the combat zone." The Crystal Wing positioned itself between the Horizon Dawn and the Kryn cruisers, its shields absorbing hits meant for the damaged human ship. Together, they retreated toward the colony, where Valtorian reinforcements were finally arriving. When they reached safety, Captain Hayes contacted the Crystal Wing. "Princess Lissa, thank you. You saved our ship and our crew. We're in your debt." There was a pause. Then Lissa's voice, different from the confident Princess Jake remembered. "No, Captain Hayes, I'm in yours. Your ship came to help my people when no one else could. The least I could do was return the favor." The Kryn fleet withdrew as more coalition ships arrived. The battle was over. The colonies had been damaged, but most of the civilians had been evacuated safely. The Horizon Dawn limped to a Valtorian repair station, leaking atmosphere and running on emergency power. Jake helped coordinate the emergency repairs. His mind was elsewhere, though. Princess Lissa had risked her life to save them. The same princess who had mocked humanity now personally flew into combat to protect a human ship. 2 hours later, while Jake was helping seal a hull breach, a Valtorian official approached him. "Mr. Morrison, Princess Lissa has requested to meet with you. She's in the station's medical bay." Jake's heart jumped. "Is she injured?" "Minor injuries only. She insists on seeing you before she receives treatment." Jake followed the official through the station. The medical bay was clean and bright, filled with advanced Valtorian technology. Lissa sat on an examination table, holding her left arm carefully. Her formal robes were torn and scorched. A cut above her eye leaked blue blood. When she saw Jake, she stood up quickly, then winced. "Mr. Morrison, Jake, thank you for coming. You're hurt. You should let the doctors help you. In a moment. I needed to see you first, to thank you." "Thank me? You saved our ship." Lissa shook her head. "You came to help us when you had no reason to. After how I treated you, after the insults I gave, you still came." "Why?" Jake stepped closer. "Because it was the right thing to do. Because civilians were in danger. Because I don't base my actions on whether someone was mean to me once." "Once? I was cruel, Jake. I mocked everything you value. I called your species primitive and worthless." Her voice cracked. "And you still came to help?" "Yes, why?" Jake thought about his answer. "Because I didn't walk away from you because I hate Valtorians. I walked away because I respect myself. There's a difference. I can respect myself and still choose to help others. Even others who hurt me." Lissa looked down. When she spoke again, her voice was quiet. "I've spent the past month studying humanity." "Really studying it?" "I watched your species survive ice ages, plagues, world wars. I saw you destroy yourselves and then rebuild. I saw you reach for the stars even when it seemed impossible. And I realized something." "What's that?" "That strength isn't about technology or power. It's about character. It's about choosing to be good even when you could choose otherwise. It's about helping others even when they don't deserve it. That's what makes humans special. Not your ships or weapons or achievements. Your humanity. She looked up at Jake and her eyes were wet. I'm so sorry. For everything I said. For how I treated you. I was wrong and I'm ashamed of myself. Jake studied her face. He saw genuine remorse there, genuine change. Apologies matter, Princess. But actions matter more. You flew into combat to save my ship. You risked your life for people you once called primitive. That matters more than any words. Can you forgive me? I already have. The moment you put yourself between my ship and those Kryn fighters, you showed me who you really are. Not the spoiled princess from the palace. The person you're becoming. Lissa wiped her eyes. I want to learn from you. From humans. I want to become better. Will you help me? Jake smiled. Yeah, I can do that. But first let the doctors fix your arm. She laughed, a real laugh this time, not the mocking one from the palace. Deal. As Jake left the medical bay, Ben was waiting outside. So how'd it go? She apologized. Really apologized. And I think she means it. People can change, Ben, we've seen it before. Sometimes the worst person you know can become the best if they're willing to do the work. So what now? Now we fix our ship, finish this fight with the Kryn, and maybe build some real bridges between humans and Valtorians. Ben grinned. Look at you being diplomatic. I never stopped being diplomatic. I just refused to be a doormat. There's a difference. The Coalition Council chamber was the largest room Jake had ever seen. Representatives from 50 different species sat in circular tiers that rose toward a domed ceiling, covered in holographic stars. Each species had their own section, their own way of displaying their presence. The Valtorians had elegant floating platforms. The Krell had massive stone chairs. Humans had simple but comfortable seats near the middle tier. Jake stood beside Captain Hayes, feeling out of place. He was an engineer and cultural liaison, not a politician. But the council had specifically requested his presence for this emergency meeting about the Kryn threat. Remember, Hayes whispered, let the diplomats do most of the talking. You're here as a consultant. The council leader, an ancient Thalon named Elder Moss, raised one of his forearms. This session is called to order. We face a crisis. The Kryn Alliance has launched coordinated attacks across 3 sectors. They are disrupting supply lines, attacking civilian targets, and destabilizing coalition space. We must respond. A Valtorian representative stood. It was Elder Torin, the same advisor who had sent Jake that private message weeks ago. The Valtorian Empire proposes a direct military response. We will assemble our battle fleet and meet the Kryn in open combat. Our superior technology will overwhelm them. A Krell commander growled his disagreement. The Kryn are using guerrilla tactics. They won't meet you in open battle. You'll waste resources chasing ghosts while they continue their attacks. The debate continued for an hour. Each species argued for their own approach. Nobody was listening to anyone else. Jake watched it all with growing frustration. This was exactly the problem that had plagued the defense fleet. Everyone had their own doctrine, their own pride, and nobody wanted to adapt. Then something unexpected happened. Princess Lissa Valtorin entered the chamber. She walked with confidence, her arm still bandaged from the battle, her face serious. She climbed to the Valtorian section and stood beside Elder Torin. Honored council, she said, and the entire chamber fell silent. A princess addressing the council was rare. I come before you with a proposal. But first I must tell you about something that happened recently, about a mistake I made and what it taught me. Jake felt his face grow warm as every alien in the chamber turned to look at him. Weeks ago, I insulted the human representative, Jake Morrison. I called his species primitive. I mocked their achievements. I was arrogant and cruel. Mr. Morrison did something that shocked me. He walked away. He refused to accept disrespect even from a princess, even when it cost him politically. Lisa looked directly at Jake. At first I was angry. Then I was confused. Then I started to understand. Humans have something that many of us have forgotten. The courage to stand on principle, the wisdom to adapt, and the compassion to help others even when they don't deserve it. When the Kryn attacked our colonies, the Horizon Dawn came to help us. They put themselves in danger for people I had insulted. That's who humans are. She turned back to the council. I propose we stop arguing about whose military doctrine is superior, and instead learn from each other. Specifically, I propose we combine Valtorian technology with human tactical flexibility. Let us create a unified defense strategy that uses the strengths of all coalition species. Elder Torin looked surprised but nodded slowly. The princess speaks wisely. Elder Moss gestured to Jake. Human Morrison, the council would hear your thoughts. Jake stood, his legs feeling shaky. He hadn't prepared a speech. He just had to speak from his heart. Thank you, Elder Moss. Princess Lissa is right. The Kryn are using tactics that exploit our divisions. They know we can't coordinate effectively. They know we each think our way is best. But the truth is, every species here has strengths. Valtorians have incredible technology. Krell have courage and strength. Thalans have defensive expertise. Dendari have amazing communication networks. And humans, he paused. Humans are good at adapting, at finding unexpected solutions, at working together. He pulled up a holographic display from his datapad. I've been working with Princess Lisa on a strategy. It uses Valtorian ships as the core defense, but with human tactical coordination. Smaller, faster ships from other species act as scouts and rapid response. We share all intelligence immediately through Dendari communication networks. We don't fight as separate species. We fight as one coalition. A Krell commander stood. And who commands this unified fleet? Everyone, Jake said. Each species commands their own ships, but we coordinate through a shared command structure. We make decisions together based on what works, not on who has the most powerful technology. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some representatives loved the idea, others hated it, but at least they were talking, really talking, instead of just arguing. The vote came down to a narrow margin, but it passed. The coalition would try the unified approach. Jake and Princess Lissa were assigned to work together, coordinating the new strategy. Over the next week, Jake barely slept. He worked with Lissa and representatives from a dozen species, planning, coordinating, running simulations. Lissa proved to be brilliant at understanding both strategy and people. She had done more than study human history. She had learned from it. You know what's funny? She said one night while they reviewed tactical data. A month ago, I thought working with you would be beneath me. Now I can't imagine doing this without you. People change, Jake said. You've changed a lot. So have you. You're more diplomatic now. I was always diplomatic. I just have standards, she laughed. That genuine laugh he was starting to hear more often. Fair point. The Kryn struck again, hitting a major supply depot. But this time the coalition was ready. Valtorian ships jumped in immediately with heavy firepower. Human and Krell ships harassed the Kryn attackers from multiple angles. Dendari scouts tracked the Kryn retreat path. When the Kryn tried to escape, they found Thalan defensive positions waiting. It wasn't a perfect victory. The coalition took losses. But the Kryn took worse, and for the first time they retreated in disarray instead of according to plan. The second attack came 3 days later. The result was even better. The coalition forces moved like a single organism, each species supporting the others. Jake watched it happen from the Horizon Dawn's tactical center and felt pride swell in his chest. This was working. They were learning to truly work together. The critical moment came in the third engagement. The Kryn committed their entire battle fleet, clearly trying to break the coalition's new coordination. It was the largest space battle in coalition history. Jake was on the bridge with Captain Hayes. Princess Lissa was commanding the Valtorian section of the fleet from her ship. The communication channels were chaos as hundreds of ships tried to coordinate. This is it, Hayes said. If we win this, the Kryn will have to reconsider their entire strategy. The battle was fierce. Ships exploded. Weapons fire lit up the darkness of space like lightning. Jake coordinated the human ships, keeping them moving, adapting to Kryn tactics moment by moment. Then disaster struck. 3 Kryn cruisers broke through the line and headed straight for the command ship where Elder Moss was coordinating the defense. If they destroyed that ship, the entire coalition fleet would fall into confusion. I can reach them, Lissa's voice came through the channel. But I'll need support. I'm going in. Lissa, wait, Jake said. Don't go alone. Someone has to. I'm the fastest ship in range. Then I'm coming with you, Jake said before he could think about it. He looked at Captain Hayes. She nodded. The Horizon Dawn and the Crystal Wing raced toward the Kryn cruisers. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they had each other. Lissa's ship absorbed the heavy fire while the Horizon Dawn targeted the cruisers' weak points. Other coalition ships saw what they were doing and joined the fight. The battle for the command ship lasted 10 minutes that felt like hours. When it was over, all 3 Kryn cruisers were destroyed or crippled. The coalition line held. The Kryn fleet, broken and demoralized, retreated. They had won. The celebration after the battle was held on Valtoria. Every species sent representatives. For the first time, the victory felt shared, truly shared by everyone. Jake stood on a balcony overlooking the Valtorian capital. The city below was alive with lights and celebration. He felt a presence beside him and turned to see Princess Lissa. "Beautiful night," she said. "Yeah, it is." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Lissa spoke. "Jake, I've been thinking. This unified approach, this cooperation, it shouldn't end with the war. We should make it permanent, and I want you to help build it." "Me?" "Yes, I've spoken with my father, the Emperor. We want to establish a permanent cultural exchange program between Valtoria and Earth. We want humans to teach us about cooperation, adaptation, and humility, and we want to teach you about technology and history. A real partnership. That's amazing, Lissa. Will you lead it? Will you be our ambassador?" Jake thought about it. He thought about walking away from that palace platform weeks ago. He thought about the journey since then. He thought about how one moment of standing up for himself had led to all of this. "Yes," he said. "I'll do it." Lissa smiled, and it was the warmest smile he'd ever seen from her. "You know, when you walked away from me that day, I was so angry. Now I realize it was the best thing that ever happened to me. You showed me that real strength isn't about power or technology. It's about character. You learned that lesson well. I had a good teacher." She paused. "Jake, can I ask you something?" "Sure. When I insulted you, when I called humans primitive, why did you come back? Why did you save us during the Kryn attack? You could have left us to our fate." Jake thought about his answer carefully. "Because I didn't walk away from you because I hated Valtorians. I walked away because I needed to respect myself. But that doesn't mean I wanted you to suffer. I came back because helping others is the right thing to do. Even when they hurt you. Even when it's hard. That's what makes us human." Lissa was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I'm not just a princess anymore, Jake. I'm your friend. You can call me Lissa." "All right, Lissa. Let's build something amazing together." They looked out at the stars where human and Valtorian ships patrolled side by side, where dozens of species were learning to work as partners instead of competitors, where walking away from disrespect had somehow led to building bridges. Below them, the city celebrated not just a military victory, but something more important, the birth of true cooperation. And somewhere in that celebration, species that had never spoken before were sharing meals and stories and laughter. Jake Morrison had walked away from a princess, and in doing so, he had helped change a galaxy.